All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets for game one of the NBA Finals. We have the Boston Celtics versus the Dallas Mavericks. And really, a lot of game one and the series in terms of prop betting will depend on the minutes for Porzingis. Okay, we have not seen him since game 4 against Miami. And so with that, that does create a little bit of a guessing game. So I'll show you guys his projected minutes in a second compared to his average minutes, and that is going to be the biggest difference maker on this slate. And we'll see that actually throughout the playoffs to start, he was actually getting more minutes than we have seen him get on the season average. Okay, so season average, he averaged about 29.6 minutes per game. Okay, and so again, going back to that game 1, game 2, and game 3 against Miami, he was obviously on average through those first 3 games over that average, not by much, basically exactly the same. But the biggest question is, will he still get that full allotment of minutes that we have seen him get? Now, the projection data is saying yes, basically 28 minutes. And so to me, if he is going to get 28 minutes, then this under that we're being told by Vegas to bet might actually not be the best bet. And so again, that's going to be the biggest issue with game 1 is not only what to do with Porzingis lines, but then what to do with some other lines. So one player that does get a big decrease in production with Porzingis on the court is actually Derek White. A lot of people are going to go to Al Horford. That is true. But Derek White also is a player that does get a big bump down in his production with Porzingis off the court. And so that is something that throughout the season was more true than really over the last 60 days or so. Over the last 60 days, Derek White has actually seen an increase in minutes with Porzingis on the court. So really, there has seemed to be a little bit of, which does happen in playoffs, a little bit of a distinction between regular season minutes and playoff minutes for Derek White. Derek White has actually seen a little bit of an increase in playoff minutes, even in that Miami series with Porzingis on the court. So the biggest thing that I'm kind of wondering is, all right, I kind of expect maybe Drew Holiday and Derek White to put a lot of defensive attention on Luka and also Kyrie. And so to me, that also kind of means this is kind of twofold. With Porzingis being back, we saw throughout the season that Derek White did not benefit from that. And then also I do think a lot of defensive attention is going to hurt Derek White's offensive production more so than it has thus far this series or this NBA playoffs. And so even though the projection data is telling us to bet the over here, I kind of agree with Vegas that he's probably going to get the under. Now, if he does get 38 minutes, that's a little bit more difficult for me to see that occurring. And again, going back to the Miami series, 33, 36, 31, 40 minutes, and then 29, that game was a blowout. We don't really care about that. And so lately he has seen more and more minutes as games have been closer. And if you look at it, like his line isn't adjusting that much for Porzingis. So I would agree though that the under is probably the better bet here for Derek White. But then at the same time, I don't think I would want to bet Porzingis for under 8.5 points as well. And when we look at Derek White's per 36 production with Porzingis off the court over the last 60 days, he does average 16.4 points. But that's per 36. If he gets 2 more minutes, maybe he does get that extra 0.5 difference. But this is going to be the whole season. So we look at for the whole season, 14.7 points on average with Porzingis off the court per 36. And then over the last 60 days, 16.4. So again, he has seen an increase in his minutes throughout the playoffs. Enough with those two. Another big one is going to be Al Horford. And so Al Horford has been someone that has significantly benefited with Porzingis being off the court. I think everyone knows that, or at least they should know that. Al Horford has kind of been a stud for them. And we're going to see that his projected minutes are projected to be 24, which is about what he averaged with Porzingis on the court, healthy throughout the season. Now, the thing with Dallas is that they kind of have a bunch of, they're not bigs, but bigs, you know, with Gafford, Lively, and also PJ Washington, to the point where maybe we do see Boston go with a bigger unit with Porzingis and Al Horford and Tatum on the court a little bit more frequently than we have throughout the whole season. But at the same time, it wouldn't be surprising to see Horford's minutes be closer to around 20, which is what we did see in the Miami series, which is kind of what was occurring when Porzingis was off the court throughout the season. But the thing with the minutes, guys, for the Boston Celtics as a whole is that throughout the season, they had always had some sort of player out, whether that be Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Tatum. It was just a carousel where it seemed like about once a week there was one of the players that gets significant minutes being out. And so that led to all the other players kind of getting an increase in minutes. We saw that a decent amount with Al Horford this season. So it is a little bit difficult to really dial in as much as we would want. But where I am leaning here with Al Horford is probably just staying away from him. But I will say, I don't think it makes sense to bet Porzingis under and then also bet Derek White under and Al Horford under. I would say if you are betting Porzingis for his unders, you're betting on the minutes not being there for the most part. So then you would probably want to bet on Al Horford for his over, and then also Derek White for his over. So this is kind of my long way of saying I kind of like these bets better on something like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM. I kind of like the over bet for Derek White points a little bit more, and I kind of like the over points and rebounds a little bit more for Al Horford on, one of those other sportsbooks rather than PrizePicks or Underdog. And then that's kind of it for the Boston Celtics. Like, I'm okay with the other prop bets that we were getting. I will say Jrue Holiday, I do expect him to struggle offensively because he's going to have a lot of defensive attention to Kyrie and to Luka. That this assist prop that we're getting for him, 4.5, I do think can be a solid one for him. And we haven't seen Jrue Holiday play too much against Dallas thus far this season, but in the 2 games they did 7 assists and 6 assists. Again, not too many points, 17 there. I'm not going to kind of look at, I guess we could look at the box score. So here we're going to see in this game who was out. Well, it seems like it was Porzingis was out in this game as well. So again, that's the tough part about Boston, is that looking at their game logs not going to be too worthwhile. But I would say that underbet that we're getting with Jrue Holiday does seem to be a solid underbet there as well. Overbet for his assist is a solid bet there as well. From there, what can we do? We got Derek Lively, rebound 7. That feels like it's going to be a push. And let's actually jump more into Dallas here. So Dallas, I think it's worth pointing out that with Kyrie, we are getting kind of the star treatment with him and with a couple of prop bets. Like Kyrie for under 8.5 rebounds and assists is a seemingly good bet, given the fact that there might be a slight increase in the payout, given the fact that he's a star on PrizePicks. If you run that out on Underdog, not going to be worthwhile. The thing that I don't like about this prop bet is that the projection data does like the over of 9.3, so probably not one that I would want to go in on too much. Now, I do think it's worth pointing out that in the 2 games against Boston thus far this season, 1 game he did get the over by scoring 9. The other game he did not. So 50-50 on the season. Again, I don't really care about that too much. To me, the Derek Lively one is definitely interesting. He is someone that with Boston, kind of being a bigger team as well, they're probably going to be forced to play him a little bit more minutes than what he averaged throughout the season. 28 minutes is what he's projected to get. And if that does occur, I do like his over of 7 rebounds. Now, in games that have stayed close, and that's always the bet with NBA, right? Is games staying close. He has been getting close to those 28 minutes. So a lot of his production is going to be predicated on that as well. But throughout the playoffs, in games that he has seen around 28 minutes, he has gained that over. So that really does seem to be the bet with Derek Lively, is betting on those minutes being there for him. And so, yeah, that would probably be my favorite bet there on PrizePicks as well. And then from there, I feel like we don't have to go too crazy with the prop bets that we were getting. If you guys know, or if you guys have been following this channel thus far this season, you kind of know my thoughts on PJ Washington. I kind of love that trade that Dallas made, acquiring PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford for that matter. But PJ Washington was someone I was hyping up throughout the whole season. That's why I was pretty pumped that Dallas got him at a cheap cost. I thought that was a great fit. Obviously, that has ended up being true. But Washington is probably the one player that could struggle this round compared to his previous rounds, because in a weird way, I think the matchup with potentially Al Horford a little bit more could hurt his, or maybe Tatum. Tough to say what they're going to do there, but I think the matchup that he's going to get in this round, as opposed to Minnesota, which again sounds weird, but Minnesota doesn't have like a good athletic big to guard someone like Washington. It's weird because obviously Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year. I'm not going to argue that he shouldn't have been. A lot of people like to make that argument. What Rudy Gobert is asked to do, he does extremely well defensively. He's not an athletic big. But Al Horford can kind of guard that type of player a little bit better. And so I do think that Horford could match up on Washington, maybe shut him down a little bit. But PJ Washington has been getting a ton of minutes, really regardless of the game, whether it's a blowout or not. He has just been getting a ton of minutes, as he should be. He's kind of the 3rd player, obviously, in this squad now after Luka and Kyrie. And I just love his production. He's averaging around 10 shot attempts per game thus far this playoffs, making about 50% of those. I shouldn't say that, about 40% of those. And he's been great. And so he's someone I would agree with the line at 52%, likely to hit, but he's someone that I probably will bet on just because I have been and kind of liked betting on him. The projection data would say that it's right as well. I'm just going to favor the game being close and those minutes still being there. And then real quickly, we'll just look at it from an underdog side. So the sheet that I was showing you guys earlier was the beta PrizePicks cheat sheet that I've been working on. This is the normal sheet you guys will see here. So we got the underdog cheat sheet being pulled up. Not as big of edges there on underdog, but again, Derek White, I do think makes for a better overbet points-wise on one of the other sportsbooks rather than a better underbet on something like PrizePicks or Underdog. I do like the over assist for Jrue Holiday, even though the projection data is disagreeing with that. So it's definitely a weird week, or game one, I should say, in regards to my thoughts versus the projection data versus the average sportsbook line. But that is playoff basketball as a T. Like, that's just how it rolls. It's tough to see which little adjustments a coach is going to make in the playoffs. In the regular season, they don't make that many adjustments, so it's much easier to predict on a game-by-game basis. So with that, no underdog bet of the day, but let's get into the PrizePicks bet of the day. So I'm going to use the PrizePicks bets here to show you guys what my favorite sportsbook bets are going to be. That'd be Al Horford and Derek White for over, well, it'd be Al Horford for over 12.5 points and rebounds, Derek White for over 14.5 points, and then we would pair that with Porzingis under his points and rebounds. Again, the bet there is that the projected minutes that Porzingis is projected to give will actually be lower. Thus, Derek White, Al Horford's minutes would be a little bit higher than what we are seeing. At the same time, you could run out the exact opposite of this as well, but that bet would then be better on PrizePicks or Underdog. Okay, so that's up to you guys, whatever side of that you want to end up on, but that's what I would suggest there. Let's show you guys my PrizePicks bet of the day for game one. And I'm not going to go crazy with game one. Like, obviously, it's one game slate. We're not going to get that many big edges, but I did think with Porzingis being back that I did present a little bit of some opportunities there. Typically in NBA, the biggest edges that we get are when someone is out or, back in the lineup after being out for a while, which is what is occurring with Porzingis. And so I do think we have some decent edges here in game one. But that's going to be all for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want access to the tools that you just saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They're available for just $10 a month. Good luck in game one. Hopefully you had a good NBA season. That's all for today. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.